Michael Leckie here. I'm the author of The Heart of Transformation. It's about building the human capabilities that change organizations for good. And that's what I do as a consultant, speaker, author, and advisor. And this is Mark.
Hey there, Mark Bowden here, expert in human behavior and body language. Help people all over the world to stand out, to win trust, gain credibility every time they communicate, including leaders of the G7. Michael Leckie, tell people what it is we actually do together.
What we do together is we work with a very small handful of senior leaders, CEOs, or those that are on that track, C-suite leaders in organizations. And what we do is we help move them from being great leaders into transformative ones as the CEO of that organization. And one of the things that we run into that we're talking about in this series of videos is the things that get in the way of being a truly transformative leader. Well, here's one of them. You have to lead, and you have to learn to lead without just being a player on the team. And you have to learn to lead in such a way that you are not only inspiring, but that you're pulling out the best of the people around you, no longer as their peer, which is a difficult shift for some people. So, Mark, thoughts on this? How, as a leader, no longer their peer, how do you still engage with them and pull out from them the best that they bring?
Yeah, well, here's the problem, as I constantly get it, and we get it all the time, is you've got a leader who is running way over their actual capacity because they want to do the work for everybody. And quite frankly, they're pretty capable of it. Yeah. Actually, there's one extraordinary leader out there who I will cause to be nameless. But essentially, if you're in a meeting with this person and you don't say, hey, look, I know how to do this and I know how to do this immediately and I will get it done, that leader will go, oh, I'm just going to do it. And the problem is that leader does it as well. They have the capacity, currently. Now, the question is when will that person run out of capacity and what disaster will that cause? So look, you don't have the capacity for this. So what are you going to do? You can't put out every fire. You can't do the work for everybody. And yet there's this burning, insatiable desire to get everything done to your standard, brilliantly done. You're going to burn out, my friend. You're going to burn out. And the key here is questions. And it's a really simple answer, but it's a little more complicated than that answer makes out. The key to great questions, is how do you use them to elicit from people their own abilities, their own mindsets, and that desire to get things done and get things done, not even at your top capacity, at their top capacity. So how do you use your capacity for questions in order to draw the full capacity of the organization out? Michael, tell us more about that.
It's funny. It's my friends, and it's dead simple to ask questions. As my friends in Boston would say, it's wicked hard, because you have to figure out what are the questions I want to deploy and when. How am I going to stay with those questions? How am I going to make them clear and sincere and allow me to be a little bit more of a blank slate? Because, we've all brought questions to the table that we know aren't questions. They're just judgments masquerading as a question, which just means people are trying to then meet the needs of our judgment, not the needs of what actually needs to happen for the business. So the art of asking really, truly curious, thoughtful, insightful questions is something that we work with our clients on a daily basis. It's something we've written books about because we're so focused on how the dialogic process and the changing behaviors of changing questions. Literally, you want to change the world, change the questions you're asking the world. It's almost magical. And so this is the thing that we love to do. I guess one of the things that we find most of our clients struggle with is, where do you find the questions you need to ask? How do you figure them out? Mark, you have any thoughts on how you find the questions?
Yeah, I mean, you can find them out by accident if you fancy that.
I'll sell you a book.
Yeah, exactly. You got a bunch in your book. You can find them out by accident. Look, here's what traditionally happens, because you may think that you have the questions, and look, maybe you do, but traditionally what happens is your questions will be kind of data based questions. Like, are you sure this is all the data we have? Are you sure you got the data correctly? Are you sure we don't have more data? That is, quite frankly, I don't want to be rude to anybody out there, but quite frankly, that is often people at their top, questioning capacity. We're not talking about those kind of questions, which is why you need to go to people and work with people who will ask you these kind of questions for a start, who will help you model those questions by putting you under the scrutiny of those questions, so you are brought up to this full capacity, and also by modeling that, you as a leader are able to use these questions. These are questions that really, well, as you say in your book, Michael, drive to the heart of the idea, get to, in my mind, what really motivates you as a human being and motivates others. If you ask the right question, you can choose the right problems for a start, and then start to be motivated yourself and in others to move to the heart of those problems. So, Michael, tell people a little bit about how we approach working with people in this area.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. I mean, think of us and the work we do as probably the most curious and loving interrogators you ever met in your life. We're going to have a conversation with you on a weekly basis, and as needed, as things pop up during the day, which they will, to ask you the questions that get you to think and really process it through out loud and get clear on what the challenge is and what those next steps are. And in the process of doing that, we're going to give you the questions that you're going to ask others. So we give you a safe space in which to experience both sides of that dynamic, being questioned and being the questioner, and learning the power of them from both sides, so that you bring that to the table in all of your interactions with your leadership team, with your board of directors, with your outside investors, with the different governments and entities that you operate with, regardless of what kind of leadership role you're in. We bring the questions that really help drive the questions. This is something we do with only a handful of leaders at the C-suite, primarily CEOs of larger organizations. And we take on 3 to 4 in any given year, so we can dedicate our time, our true deep interest and curiosity into that individual and the organization that they're running. So if you have interest in finding out more about that, please reach out. The contact information is either below you on the screen or in the comments of the video, or depends upon what medium you're viewing this video on. But reach out to us. Let's have a conversation. If it's not the right fit for you, it's not going to be the right fit for us. But if it is for both of us, we're willing to talk about that and see if we can do some amazing things and ask and answer some great questions together.